Welcome to the DIY Honda Garage channel. The DTC P0974 indicates an issue with the Shift Solenoid Valve A, specifically an open condition. This diagnostic trouble code typically arises from an electrical circuit problem rather than a mechanical issue in the transmission. The shift solenoid is integral to the automatic transmission system, allowing the vehicle to change gears effectively based on electronic signals from the powertrain control module, PCM. Understanding the components' locations is essential for accurate diagnosis. The shift solenoid valve A is usually located on the transmission body, and it works alongside other solenoids to manage gear shifts. A successful troubleshooting process can assist in determining the exact nature of the problem and whether it can be resolved through repairs or component replacements. Begin by recording freeze data and onboard snapshots with the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS, as this information will provide valuable insight into the vehicle's state at the time the DTC was recorded. This step lays the groundwork for a systematic and thorough diagnostic process. DTC P0974 refers to a malfunction of the shift solenoid valve A, which plays a critical role in controlling the hydraulic pressure that enables gear shifting in automatic transmissions. This solenoid valve is operated electronically by the powertrain control module, PCM, integrating various inputs to facilitate optimal transmission performance. Mechanically, the solenoid components help engage and disengage gears as required. The valve is generally housed within the transmission assembly, making accessibility a consideration when performing diagnostic checks or components replacement. Any electrical issues, such as broken wires or poor connectors, can cause this fault, emphasizing the importance of thorough electrical circuit inspection during troubleshooting. It is also essential to remember that this code cannot be attributed to mechanical failures within the transmission itself, which is a common misconception. The primary causes behind DTC P0974 typically involve electrical circuit issues rather than mechanical failures. These issues might arise from damaged wiring or poor connections affecting the solenoid's operation. A faulty shift solenoid can also trigger this code, potentially leading to disrupted communication between the solenoid and the PCM. Since the system relies heavily on electrical signals to function, any interruption in these pathways could signify further underlying problems. It's essential to inspect the wiring and connections thoroughly to identify intermittent failures that might not be apparent at first glance. Familiarity with these common causes allows technicians to diagnose the issue effectively and implement an appropriate repair strategy. Symptoms associated with DTC P0974 can include noticeable transmission shifting issues such as harsh or erratic shifts. Drivers may find that the vehicle experiences difficulty moving through gears smoothly, leading to an overall unreliable driving experience. An illuminated check engine light on the dashboard is another symptom, prompting owners to investigate potential issues. These symptoms not only affect drivability, but may also raise concerns about the longevity of the transmission if not addressed promptly. Furthermore, technicians will often retrieve DTC readings, including P0974, during a diagnostic scan, confirming the presence of a fault that needs immediate attention. Recognizing these symptoms allows for timely interventions, potentially preventing further damage. The first step in troubleshooting DTC P0974 involves verifying the problem by checking the diagnostics trouble codes. Begin by turning the ignition switch to the on/to position without starting the engine. Following this, clear the stored DTC using the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS tool. Once the DTC is cleared, Start the engine while ensuring the shift lever is in the park P position for at least 1 second. This procedure allows the system to perform checks on various components. Afterward, check HDS again for any pending or confirmed DTCs. If DTC P0974 is indicated, proceed to the subsequent step as the problem is verified. If not, revert to the second step of the troubleshooting process. This step serves to confirm whether the issue still persists. In this second troubleshooting step, the technician will conduct an operational check of Shift Solenoid Valve A using the HDS. Select the Shift Solenoid Valve A from the miscellaneous test menu of the diagnostic tool. Once selected, initiate the test and closely listen for a clicking sound, which indicates that the solenoid is functioning properly. If a clicking sound is indeed heard, this confirms that Shift Solenoid Valve A is operational, and you can proceed to the next troubleshooting step. However, if no clicking sound is detected, indications suggest that the solenoid could be faulty or that a wiring issue might exist. This operational check is a crucial part of determining whether the solenoid itself is to blame for the DTC being set, ensuring that all subsequent tests are appropriately directed. This step involves confirming the DTC status for the OBD, Onboard Diagnostic System check. Start the engine once again while the shift lever remains in the park P position, allowing it to idle for about 1 second. Next, utilize the HDS to monitor the OBD status for the presence of DTC P0974 within the DTCs menu. If the HDS indicates a failed status for this code, it suggests that the solenoid issue has been duplicated, and you should proceed to step 4 for further analysis and potential repairs. Conversely, if the HDS indicates past or an intermittent failure status, this might mean that the system is currently functioning correctly at that moment, although it warrants a check for poor connections or loose terminals between the solenoid and the PCM. Diligence in this step is necessary to ensure a thorough understanding of the ongoing issue. In this step of the troubleshooting process, you will perform an internal resistance check of Shift Solenoid Valve A. First, turn the ignition switch to the lock 0 position. Next, jump the SCS line using the HDS to ensure that you are conducting the test under the correct conditions. Disconnect the PCM connector, specifically PCM connector B49P. With the connector disconnected, measure the resistance between test points 1 and 2 as specified. The appropriate resistance reading should fall between 13.8 to 17.1 ohms. If the resistance falls within this range, it indicates that the Shift Solenoid Valve A is functioning correctly, and you would then update the PCM if it does not have the latest software, or substitute a known good PCM to continue troubleshooting. If the resistance reading is outside this range, this points to a possible fault within the solenoid that requires further investigation. The fifth step requires checking for an open wire condition in the SHA circuit that connects the shift solenoid to the PCM. Begin by disconnecting the shift solenoid wire harness from the 8P connector. Once disconnected, you will need to check for continuity between the specified test points. It's crucial to ensure that the test conditions are met, i.e., the ignition must remain in the lock 0 position, and both the shift solenoid and PCM connectors must be disconnected to avoid any interference. If continuity is confirmed between the specified test points, you can conclude that the wiring in the SHA line is intact, and you can proceed to the sixth step. However, if no continuity is found, this indicates that there is an open wire condition in the SHA wire, necessitating repairs between the shift solenoid wire harness and the PCM. In the final troubleshooting step for DTC P0974, the focus shifts to checking the continuity of the shift solenoid wire harness. Start by removing the shift solenoid wire harness to allow for a proper check. After removal, use the multimeter or HDS to check for continuity between the defined test points. Again, the ignition should be in the lock 0 position, and all relevant connectors must be disconnected for an accurate reading. If continuity is found, this means the shift solenoid wire harness is functioning correctly, and you should proceed to replace the Shift Solenoid Valve A to fix the issue. On the other hand, if continuity fails, this implies that the shift solenoid wire harness itself is faulty, necessitating its replacement. By systematically following these steps, you can effectively isolate and address the cause of the DTC P0974. The final verification step is crucial to ensure that all repairs have been effective and that the DTC P0974 has been addressed correctly. Start by reconnecting all previously disconnected connectors, ensuring secure connections to all components involved in the testing process. Next, turn the ignition switch to the on position and clear any existing DTCs using the HDS. Once cleared, start the engine again with the shift lever in park, P, and allow it to idle for 1 second. It's vital to take the vehicle for a test drive, allowing it to operate in second gear for at least 1 second to further evaluate the transmission's performance. Finally, monitor the OBD status for P0974 using the HDS to confirm whether it indicates passed, failed, or not completed. This verification process ensures not only that your repairs have addressed the issue, but also that the vehicle can function properly without further issues. Preventive maintenance is essential to keeping the transmission and electrical systems functioning smoothly, especially in relation to DTC P0974. Regular inspections of the electrical wiring and connectors can help identify any issues before they evolve into a more significant problem. It's also important to keep the PCM software up to date, as manufacturers may release updates to enhance vehicle performance and address known issues. Properly securing all connectors ensures that no intermittent connections create faults, maintaining reliable operation over time. Additionally, routine checks of shift solenoid functionality can serve as a proactive measure to catch any potential failures early. Following these guidelines not only helps prevent future DTC occurrences, but ultimately contributes to the longevity of the vehicle's transmission system. In conclusion, DTC P0974 signifies a problem with shift solenoid valve A, fundamentally tied to the electrical circuits rather than mechanical failure. Understanding the role and location of the shift solenoid is pivotal in diagnosing this fault effectively. The identified common causes primarily revolve around electrical issues, including faulty wiring and poor connections. Systematic troubleshooting following the defined steps allows mechanics to pinpoint the problem accurately and implement the necessary repairs. Engaging in preventive maintenance practices can significantly reduce the likelihood of future occurrences of DTC P0974, thus ensuring that the vehicle remains reliable and efficient. Ultimately, a thorough understanding of diagnostic procedures not only helps in addressing immediate concerns, but also enables vehicle owners to maintain their cars more effectively. Please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.